seconds.
Humans need food, water, and clean air to survive on this planet. But we also know that one day, these resources may run out. To ensure survival, humans sought to improve their DNA and discovered alien life forms in space that could potentially help humans live on planets far from Earth. However, these creatures see humans as nothing more than food and aim to reproduce more of their kind on Earth. How will humans tackle this new threat? Without further delay, let's dive into this intriguing story. The movie begins with a spaceship owned by a company called Life Foundation. This spaceship had ventured into space to bring back substances that could enable human survival in outer space. Unfortunately, as the ship approached Earth, it malfunctioned and crashed. The crew had brought back 4 samples, but one sample went missing during the crash. Tragically, everyone on board died. However, during a rescue mission, a woman spots a scientist who had survived. As she tries to rush into a hospital, the scientist attacks the people inside the ambulance. The missing alien creature had taken over the scientist's body. It soon leaves the scientist and makes the woman in the ambulance its new host, setting off to find the Life Foundation headquarters. The scene shifts to Eddie and his girlfriend Anne. Eddie is a famous investigative journalist, and Anne is a lawyer for the Life Foundation. One day, Anne leaves for work, and Eddie is summoned by his boss, who assigns him to interview Carlton Drake, the head of the Life Foundation. His boss warns him not to ask controversial questions, as Carlton is powerful enough to shut down their company. Eddie agrees. Later that night, Eddie sneaks a look at Anne's laptop and discovers that the Life Foundation is conducting dangerous experiments on humans. The next day, Eddie confronts Carlton during the interview and asks him directly about the experiments. Angered, Carlton abruptly ends the interview. Back at the office, Eddie is scolded by his boss and loses his job. When Eddie tells Anne about it, she reveals that she's also been fired because of him. Heartbroken, Anne ends their relationship and returns his engagement ring. Months pass, and Eddie struggles to find a job. Meanwhile, at the Life Foundation, Carlton and his team successfully conduct an experiment with one of the alien samples on a rat. Excited by this success, Carlton insists on testing it on humans, despite objections from his lead scientist, Dr. Skirth, who warns of the dangers. Ignoring her advice, Carlton proceeds and brings in a human subject for the experiment. Initially, everything seems fine, but soon, the alien, the symbiote, wasn't compatible with the previous host's body. One night, Eddie was at a store grabbing something to eat when Dr. Skirth, a scientist from the Life Foundation, approached him. She told Eddie that Carlton Drake was exploiting poor people, using them as test subjects for experiments that ultimately killed them. Despite hearing this, Eddie refused to help her, as he blamed Carlton for ruining his life after the interview. Eddie even told Dr. Skirth to stay quiet and left. Eddie then went to Anne's apartment, where he saw her arriving with her new boyfriend, Dan. After Dan went inside, Eddie asked Anne if they could get back together. Anne rejected him outright, reminding him how her life fell apart because of him. Heartbroken, Eddie was left alone again. However, after thinking about it for a while, Eddie called Dr. Skirth and agreed to help her. That night, Dr. Skirth sneaked Eddie into the Life Foundation facility. Eddie started taking pictures of the ongoing experiments. As he ventured further, he discovered that one of the test subjects was someone he knew, a friend who begged him to help her escape. Eddie broke the chamber door to free her. But as soon as the woman got out, she attacked Eddie because she had been taken over by a symbiote. During the struggle, the symbiote transferred from her to Eddie. The security alarms went off, and Eddie began fleeing the facility. With the symbiote now inside him, Eddie realized he had gained extraordinary strength and agility. He fought off the Life Foundation guards and escaped. Outside, 2 cars chased him, but Eddie climbed up a tree to evade them. When Eddie returned home, he felt extremely hungry and ate everything he could find. Shockingly, he even ate a piece of rotten chicken from the trash, which made him vomit. Later, while brushing his teeth, Eddie noticed his reflection in the mirror, and his strange glowing eyes terrified him. Overwhelmed, he fainted. Meanwhile, at the Life Foundation, Carlton discovered that one of the symbiotes had gone missing. Furious, he vowed to track it down. Back at Eddie's place, he decided to tell Anne everything about the Life Foundation. He found her at a restaurant, but when he arrived, he started acting erratically, grabbing food from other people's plates, and even sitting in a fish tank because he felt overheated. Concerned, Anne's boyfriend Dan, who was a doctor, decided to take Eddie to the hospital for an X-ray. When the X-ray machine was turned on, Eddie screamed in pain. The symbiote inside him couldn't handle the loud, high-pitched sound. This incident made it clear that the creature inside Eddie had a weakness: high-frequency sound. Back at the Life Foundation, Carlton interrogated Dr. Skirth about who had infiltrated the facility with her. At first, she refused to reveal anything. Carlton pretended to assure her that if she told the truth, they could work together peacefully. Trusting him, Dr. Skirth admitted that Eddie was the one who had been with her. After hearing this, Carlton used another symbiote to kill her. Meanwhile, Eddie was at home cooking when Anne called him. She informed him that his medical tests revealed the presence of a parasite in his body, causing severe changes. During their conversation, the symbiote inside Eddie started speaking to him, warning him that people were coming to his house. Moments later, Carlton's henchmen, sent to capture Eddie, arrived at his apartment. Eddie becomes extremely nervous when he sees the henchmen with guns. However, Venom, the symbiote inside him, assures him there's no need to be scared. Venom takes control of Eddie's body, allowing them to escape the building. Once outside, the henchmen attack Eddie using drones. To evade them, Eddie jumps on his motorbike and speeds off. The henchmen chase him in their vehicles, but Venom, who is now controlling Eddie's movements, uses his extraordinary powers to avoid every attack. Eventually, the henchmen surround Eddie, but Venom uses his strength and agility to perform an incredible maneuver with the bike, astonishing the attackers. Despite their persistence, Eddie manages to escape. However, while fleeing, Eddie crashes into a car, which belonged to one of Carlton Drake's men. The crash leaves Eddie's body severely injured, with broken arms and legs. But Venom heals Eddie instantly, demonstrating its regenerative abilities. At this moment, Venom reveals itself in its true monstrous form and devours one of the henchmen. Before more damage can occur, the police arrive, forcing Eddie and Venom to flee by jumping into a nearby body of water. After escaping, Eddie finds himself completely healed. Exhausted, he sits down, but Venom speaks to him directly, saying, "I need you to take me back to the Life Foundation. Help me, and I'll leave you alone." Venom had now gained full control over Eddie's mind. Reluctantly, Eddie heads to the office of the news company where he used to work. At the reception desk, his friend tries to stop him from going upstairs. Venom, enraged, almost attacks the friend, but Eddie manages to restrain it and gets away. Using Venom's abilities, Eddie climbs to the top of the building. However, as a plane flies overhead, its loud noise weakens Venom, causing Eddie to lose his grip and fall. At the last moment, Venom regains strength and saves Eddie. Once inside, Eddie sneaks into his former boss's office. He leaves his phone there to record evidence that could expose the Life Foundation's unethical experiments. On his way back down in the elevator, Eddie finds the building swarming with soldiers sent to capture him. Realizing he has no choice, Eddie allows Venom to take full control. Transforming into Venom, he fights off the soldiers with ease. Bullets have no effect on Venom, and one by one, the soldiers are defeated. After defeating the soldiers, Venom is about to devour one of them when Anne arrives at the scene. Seeing Anne, Eddie forces himself to return to his human form and tries to explain what's happening. He tells her that it's not him committing these acts, but the parasite inside him. Anne believes him as she had witnessed the events herself. Meanwhile, at the Life Foundation, a young woman arrives to meet Carlton Drake. Unbeknownst to him, she is hosting the symbiote known as Riot, which transfers itself into Carlton, making him its new host. Back with Anne, she takes Eddie to Dan, her doctor boyfriend. Dan examines Eddie's test results and informs him that the symbiote is gradually damaging his heart and other organs. Hearing this, Eddie and Venom argue. Venom, feeling provoked, grabs Dan by the throat. Before things escalate further, Anne increases the sound frequency in the room, causing Venom to separate from Eddie's body. Quickly, she shuts the door, trapping Venom inside. As soon as Eddie steps out without Venom, Carlton Drake's henchmen capture him and take him to the Life Foundation lab, where they tie him up. Shortly after, Carlton himself arrives and interrogates Eddie about Venom. Eddie, however, cannot provide any information since he doesn't know Venom's current whereabouts. Frustrated, Carlton orders his men to kill Eddie. Meanwhile, Venom, who had temporarily bonded with Anne, arrives at the scene. Anne manages to get close to Eddie and transfers Venom back to him with a kiss. Reunited with Venom, Eddie regains his strength and fights off the henchmen, eliminating them one by one. Venom then learns from Eddie's memories that Riot, the more powerful symbiote, has bonded with Carlton and is preparing to launch a rocket that will bring more symbiotes to Earth. Determined to stop the rocket, Eddie and Venom head to the Life Foundation headquarters. Along the way, Venom confesses to Eddie that when he first arrived on Earth, his plan was to bring his kind here to consume humanity. However, Venom admits he has grown fond of Earth and now wants to protect it. At the Life Foundation, Carlton orders the scientists to expedite the rocket launch, as he plans to go to space himself with Riot. The scientists become suspicious of Carlton's behavior and try to sabotage the mission. However, Riot kills all the scientists with his immense power. With only 5 minutes left until the rocket launch, Riot begins moving toward the rocket. Venom intercepts him, and the two symbiotes engage in an intense battle. Although Riot is significantly stronger than Venom, Venom has Eddie as a capable host, making the fight more balanced. At one point, Riot separates Venom from Eddie and nearly kills him. But Eddie manages to reunite with Venom just in time, and the fight continues. In a final attempt to win, Riot uses all his strength to absorb both Venom and Eddie into his body. With only seconds left before the rocket launches, Riot starts climbing toward it. Meanwhile, Anne, in the control room, increases the frequency of the sound system. The high-frequency sound forces both Riot and Venom to separate from their hosts, Carlton and Eddie. Both symbiotes fall to the ground. Without Riot's help, Carlton and Eddie engage in a physical fight. Eddie gains the upper hand and overpowers Carlton. However, as Eddie turns to leave, Riot unexpectedly stabs him from behind and quickly climbs aboard the rocket. With only 10 seconds left until launch, Venom re-enters Eddie's body, and together, they chase after Riot. Venom uses Riot's own weapon to destroy the rocket's fuel tank, causing it to explode in midair. The explosion kills both Riot and Carlton, while Eddie falls into the water below and survives the fall. Venom, however, appears to sacrifice himself in the flames of the rocket's destruction. A few days later, Eddie and Anne are seen spending time together, seemingly at peace. However, Venom suddenly speaks to Eddie again, revealing that he is still alive. Anne notices Eddie talking to himself and becomes confused, questioning what's happening. Eddie brushes off her concerns, keeping Venom's presence a secret for now. Eddie makes an excuse about work and leaves, making it clear that Venom is still alive. While leaving, Eddie strikes a deal with Venom, agreeing that he can only eat bad people. Venom reluctantly agrees to this condition. At the end of the story, Eddie visits a dangerous inmate named Cletus Casati in prison, as he has resumed his work as a reporter. Cletus calls Eddie closer and ominously tells him, "When I get out of here, there's going to be carnage." With this chilling statement, the movie concludes, teasing the arrival of the sequel. If you're a fan of Venom, don't forget to comment Venom Part 2. Thanks for watching.